Hey, this is Vinay Sukumaran. Welcome to the Positive Behavior Podcast. What's this podcast about? This is about, it's a space where I highlight some specific areas of positive psychology, which is really a field where we study what's going right, study what's working well, study a good life, if you like, and the dynamics of a good life. So I normally pick out specific areas and elaborate on them and talk about how they can be applied for a good life. That's really what happens in the Positive Behavior Podcast. In the current season, which is the third season, which is called Life Lessons for Friends and Family, I've been interviewing people who I know, people who are close to me, and getting them to talk about some of the positive behaviors from their lives. So, one possible difference from between what I'm doing now and what was happening earlier is that earlier I would possibly isolate a specific concept or an idea and then break that down and talk about it and talk about applications and so on. Now, since I'm talking to people who I know, they're obviously going to share a bunch of ideas. So you're not going to get one isolated idea, but you're going to get a flood of them, right? Okay, so you can also find this on Spotify, you can find this on Google Podcasts, you can find this on Apple Podcasts, and you will also find this on YouTube. So you can go to YouTube and search for Vinay Sukumaran, and you will find a lot of these video interviews. So my guest today is someone who's really special. Her name is Chaitanya. Actually, Chaitanya's husband or then boyfriend and I, we went to school together, and that's how I first met her. But later, I think Chaitanya and I have become friends. We have our own dynamics, and we've really gotten to know each other well. So I've been doing this right before I even start interviewing the guest. I've been shooting off some positive behaviors about them. So what can I say about Chaitanya? Well, I think one thing is everyone should, go stay in Chaitanya's house as a guest. And I've had the great opportunity to do that. And she's just a wonderful, wonderful host. And it's amazing to just be a guest at her place, the way she'll take care of you, the way she'll make everything so comfortable. I think that's one thing that really stands out. She's also a person who, I think she's somebody who I would go to if I want some really honest feedback about something, because she's someone who will give you, she's a really frank person. So she'll give you some really direct, straightforward feedback without sort of being, arrogant or aggressive or brutal about it. So she's someone who I can count on if I want to know something and even just get her opinion on something. I know she's going to tell me the truth. That's another quality. Oh yes, I think I also have to say I really like the connection that Chaitanya has with the divine. I think that's just an amazing quality. It's a quality which I've noticed with a lot of the, what should I say, influential women in my life. And like my mother really has it. I know other people who really have it. And I think Chaitanya really has that strong connection with the divine, connection with God. Okay, let me just stop there and allow Chaitanya to speak. So Chaitanya, welcome to the Positive Behavior Podcast. Thanks for being here.
Awesome. Thanks for the amazing intro, Vin.
Okay, so Chats, normally I get my guests to talk about what they do in life, give a sort of brief introduction so that the listeners and viewers of this podcast, they get to know about you before they start hearing from you. So you want to do that?
Sure, yeah. So let's see. So right in the beginning, I am from Bangalore, but my father was in a bank. So we moved every 3 years all across the country. Loved it, loved making new friends, loved seeing new places and just experiencing the different cultures within India itself. It was an amazing experience. Career-wise, I started my career as a mechanical engineer. I worked in the oil and gas industry in Dubai. Afterwards, I worked for large multinationals in the manufacturing industry. And then, life threw me some curveballs. I decided to make the most of it. So I changed directions completely and I started working with small businesses. This helped me gain tremendous amount of experience and learn more quickly as well. I also love working with nonprofits. I currently lead 2 programs at a couple of nonprofits, and these are programs that I have founded and they are my mind child. So I am very, very passionate about these causes and I love leading these 2 programs. About me personally, I live in Seattle, and I live with my husband Adi and my dog Imli. We also foster animals. So at any point of time, we have a few bunnies or some guinea pigs keeping us company and keeping us happy.
Nice, nice. Yeah, yeah. Definitely know your connection with animals. So, here's what I've noticed. A lot of people who I've coached to work with, and who've got a pretty balanced life. They also have a very strong or a significant leisure component, or a component where they have fun, where they do something outside of what happens in their regular life, in their day-to-day life. So that dimension seems to be an important thing in positive psychology as well. So you want to say something about what you do apart from your regular life? What's your idea of having fun? What you do for leisure and those sort of things?
Sure. So I love music, and music is a very integral part of my life. Between Adi and me, he's a lot into indie music, and I'm a metalhead. So we end up listening to a lot of music. And pre-COVID era, we went to a lot of concerts, both local bands as well as big bands. Um, Getting a moderate workout is also very much part of my day. New Year's, I'll set myself goals. I'll do a few half marathons here and there, but getting a daily moderate workout is a great way for me to relax and feel healthy and feel fit. So I like doing hikes. I also like to explore my creative side, and it's something that's very important to me. So I write blogs. Sometimes I just write my journal and just write creative writing and don't publish it to anybody. So writing is something that really, really relaxes me. And last but not least, my animals are very important to me in my life. So just the simple act of walking my dog or volunteering at a farm near my house, it's very important to me. And that's something that, although I am doing physical work, that actually helps me relax, helps me find leisure, and helps me find happiness. So I feel that, animals make you laugh for no reason at all many times during the day. So that's the best way for me to unwind.
Superb. So the half marathon was news to me. I mean, is news to me. I didn't know that was part of your life. But of course, the animals. I've also been in your what's it called, this Samamish Animal Farm.
Yeah, Tsunamish Animal Sanctuary. And I've done half marathons are goal setting, but what I really enjoy is a moderate workout on a daily basis.
So. You could say the whole self-help industry is sort of based on this. It's based on studying excellence and looking at ways to sort of reproduce that. So everybody who's reading a book or trying to get better at something is trying to do that. So imagine you go out and you meet somebody who's really lost a lot of weight and gotten into good shape. You instantly want to find out what that person did and be able to absorb that into your own life. So this idea of looking at what's going right, what's going well, is also significant in positive psychology. So if you look at your life, what are some things that you think you did right? And I'm talking about the things that you did. I'm not talking about the things that happened by chance or by stroke of luck or whatever. I'm talking about the things that you did. You want to say something about that?
Sure. So when I look back, I can definitely, at the time, I always, didn't always realize what was working for me, what I was working on. But when I look back, I can definitely see some clear patterns in what worked for me and what I worked on and what didn't work for me and that I decided to give up on. So one of the things that really worked for me was I love solving problems, solving puzzles. That's been the thing throughout my career, throughout my life. I've loved solving problems for whoever I've worked for. I feel that by nature, I'm an overthinker, but although it does land me in hot soup sometimes, at work, it has been a gift for me because, it started with a sheer fear of failure, right? When I designed a model, I started out as a design engineer, and then I also built as an operations manager. I built from scratch these models that were going to be implemented, costing millions of dollars. So I didn't want someone to poke holes in my solutions. I didn't want to look stupid in front of people. Especially, I was in a male dominated industry. I was a woman, and I wanted to be, doubly better than everybody else around me. So it started with a sheer fear of failure. But then, as it turned out, this kind of like pressure that I initially put on myself, it helped me develop like an owner mindset. I'm totally committed to what I do. And once I start, once you start thinking like an owner, you will find ways that you couldn't have found before when you were not committed and when you were not connected with that before. And you will learn to make things happen no matter what. So when that happens, you also no longer need supervision because you're doing so well on your own that your manager can do other things and create more value. So that owner mindset has helped me so much because you end up learning way more than what your job profile dictates. You end up learning way more than what you would do despite recognition or honor or anything. So that really helped. Another thing that kind of rolls into the same owner mindset is that I'm not afraid to roll up my sleeves. I was a mechanical engineer. I'm used to getting my hands literally dirty, right? So that has kind of progressed into my career as well. I don't mind digging into data myself. I don't care if I have a data analyst handy. I'll do it myself. If something needs to be done, I will do it myself. And Adi was telling me recently, he was trying to motivate me about something, and he told me that when I zero in on something, I'm like a bulldog. I will move mountains to make it work, whether or not it's in my job profile or not. So looking back, he's right. Wherever I've worked or volunteered, my bosses have loved me, and I have loved doing what I have done. So I guess my overthinking nature has helped me over prepare for anything and be prepared with plan A, plan B, plan C, and all kinds of contingency plans. So there are situations where it has actually been an amazing quality to have. Second, I would say that, I didn't limit myself to a job profile or even a personality profile. I have always done a lot of self-work to ensure that I don't put myself in a box and seal it. My father always used to tell me when I was young and I'd be mad at somebody, he's like, never shut the door on somebody. Because if you do, you're the one stuck alone in a room. The other person can just go anywhere. It is the same with ideas. It's the same with opportunity. It's the same with everything else in life. I see people telling themselves, oh, I'm an introvert. Oh, I'm a dog person. Oh, I'm a cat person. You're just putting yourself in a box and sealing it. So I have always put extra effort to take just one step out of my comfort zone, test the waters, and see if I want to take more steps. So it's growth isn't always a linear process. Sometimes it happens in places that you don't even expect to. So being open to new possibilities has brought so much more learning and so much more joy and so many more opportunities into my life. So I would say that, getting out of my comfort zone has been pretty scary, but has been very, very rewarding. The third thing that I have really enjoyed working on has been, let's do that again. The third thing that I feel that is something I have learned and something I have gained is my love of learning. I consider myself a student. And I think that everything and everyone can teach me something. So this curiosity helps me connect to people on a very different level. Because I have noticed that people enjoy teaching and guiding. And I have learned so many useful things from my mentors and colleagues and friends and even my animals. Of course, where kindness is found, kindness needs to be repaid. So I repay that kindness by paying it forward. Because I have also realized that when you learn and then you share your knowledge, your learning actually grows. Plus, you build better relationships. So I believe that, these are the things that have totally worked for me looking back.
How interesting. And, I'm going to just pick out some things which stood out as I was listening to you. I love the idea of being a problem solver and being over-prepared and how that gave you the owner mindset. That's maybe for people who are listening, a good way to also develop the owner mindset. I love your dad's metaphor of, shutting the door, not shutting the door on somebody because you'll be alone in that room later by yourself. And of course, the idea of paying it forward with the work that you're doing. So a lot of people who I coach or interact with, or sometimes you spoke about people like to guide and mentor, which I'm certainly one of those people, and it also happens to be an active part of my career as a as a consultant. Most people are after a couple of things. Either it's money, success, career progressions, career growth, or reaching a certain level in the corporate hierarchy, or whatever. What do you think are good or meaningful pursuits to go after in life?
Well, this would be highly subjective, of course. But I enjoy the little things in life. Adi knows that a bouquet of flowers or even driving past a field of wildflowers makes me way more happier than getting expensive gifts. So I'm that person, if you're on a hike with me, I will be taking hundreds of pictures of that little mushroom, of that little slug, and that little bird everywhere. So I'm a person who does enjoy the little things in life. So for me, the best thing, for me, I feel that everything we do it for joy. Joy, again, the way I define it is it's very different from happiness. Happiness is a quick high and it's gone too soon. Like, example, imagine getting a sale and you got a great deal on on something, and that brings you happiness. But then a week later, or even like 3 days later, you're like, okay, what next? But joy is something that's felt by your entire being, and it puts a smile on your face for days and days and sometimes weeks to come. Sometimes, when you go on a vacation, you're on a beautiful beach, you've seen a beautiful sunset, you come back with a peace inside you. I feel that joy is, it comes from inside. It's usually something that will also lead you to your purpose in life. If you just follow your joy, it will lead you to your purpose. So for me, identifying what brought me joy itself was such a nice journey, because I got to do things that made me happy, happier, and happiest. And it helped me gain insights to what drives me as well. And then once I found what drives me, it was even more rewarding, was that I can now have more of it. To sum this up, I feel that, joy, the pursuit of joy helps us become who we are and do what we do. The second thing I feel that is very important to having joy in your life and living, a complete life is, for myself, I want to live my life serving my purpose. When you find your purpose, you find your joy, and vice versa, right? And by serving that purpose, you extend that joy. It could be anything small, it's not that you have to open an NGO today or give all your cash to charity or something, but it's something that you could, even if you're doing it 10 minutes of a day, even if, let's say that you enjoy teaching maths to your mate's kid, you enjoy teaching, or you enjoy helping friends out by mentoring them in their life, something as small as that. When you find your purpose, serving it no longer feels like work. You will get up every morning, get out that door, no matter what the weather is, no matter how sick you are, you will do it because that's what drives you. So, I am fortunate that I have found my purpose, and I'm doing my bit, a little bit every day to serve that purpose. And I want to do that for as long as I'm able, mentally and physically, and keep doing that. So that's a very, very important part of my life. Ultimately, when I have to decide what I want to do at this particular moment, I always look back to, let's say I'm 75. I'm looking more back than forward at that time. So what will make me happy and fulfilled at that point? That did I do my best? Did I do everything I could? Would I want to be able to leave this world in peace, knowing that I did my bit to make this world a wee bit better, and I lived my life to the fullest?
So this is interesting. So I'm going to just go back and highlight two important things. One is that you look at what gives you joy and you chase that and you follow that. And that, of course, makes you feel good, but also gets you closer to your purpose in life. And once you know your purpose, you can spend some time every day doing that. That's really the essential question, right? A lot of people are struggling with that. What is my purpose in life? You want to say something about, especially somebody who hasn't found it or somebody who's lost. Do you want to say something about what they can do to find their purpose in life? If I'm asking myself, what's my purpose in life? I don't really know. Do you have any sort of advice to such people?
Yeah, I attend yoga classes, and at the beginning of each class, they always tell you to set an intention. Like, sometimes your intention is to find balance. Sometimes your intention is to just have more flexibility or strength or something more personal to your life. Right. So I feel that just setting an intention gets you closer. If you set an intention that I'm going to find my purpose, unconsciously or consciously, you're going to be thinking about it and you're going to do things that will bring you closer to that purpose. So I feel that setting that intention that I'm going to find my purpose is the first step. And like I mentioned, following your joy is the best way to find your purpose. If your joy is, let's say, teaching, your purpose in life is not going to be, leading a big company, and vice versa. If your purpose in life is to make a tech giant, your purpose may or may not be, you can have multiple purposes in something else. So just finding what brings you joy and serving it will ultimately give you the big idea of what you want to do for the rest of your life. At least, these are things that have worked for me. And these are things that I can confidently say that, will work for some people. But ultimately, life is a fair game for everyone. So everybody has their own method.
Sure, but I think this is, when you say it like this, it sounds so simple, and I think that's a great idea, a message for people listening to this to take back. Set an intention, and it's logical, right? If you set an intention, you're going to do it in a realm, in an area that matters to you, that makes sense to you. So you will sort of direct yourself slowly towards your purpose, and the other one is follow your joy, follow your bliss. So one of the things that positive psychology is also about, and I mentioned this, that it's about studying what's going well, and a smart way, intelligent way, easy way to do that is to look at strengths. These strengths can belong to an organization, a team, an individual, and of course in your case I'd like to talk about it from an individual perspective, which is, what do you think are some of your strengths? And also talk a bit about, how did these become your strengths? Did they just come to you? Were you just blessed with it? Did you have to work on it? What exactly happened?
Sure, yeah. So I think my biggest strength that I can think of is my love of learning. I touched a bit on it before. But, in my 20s, I thought I knew everything, right? I was full of myself. But the older I get, the more I feel like I know nothing at all. I guess when I'm 50, I'm going to feel like I know less than a kindergartner. But I've worked hard to get here. I do know a lot of things. I'm even a subject matter expert on some things. But I always feel that compared to the sum total of all the knowledge in the world, my knowledge is a teeny tiny thing, and then there's so much to learn in this life. So I learn constantly. My conversations are about learning, knowing what people are excited about, learning what makes them click, right? So once in a while, I turn around and I've become a subject matter expert, and people want to learn from me. But the work goes on. Now, I'm not quite sure how it came about as a strength, just that I think I've always enjoyed learning. I used to love doing crosswords and puzzles because you actually learn a lot of general knowledge from there. I love reading books that I can learn from. I love watching game shows. I noticed sometime in my 20s that I loved asking people about things to learn about what they do and think. Those are my most interesting conversations. I don't care much about talking about my day or politics or sports. Those are so mundane, and after about 10 minutes of it, I'm itching to change the topic and learn something new about, people's lives or what they're interested in. So I on the same lines, all the books and the movies and conversations that I enjoyed, if they taught me something new, it really excited me. So slowly I came to realize that I loved learning, not learning in a way that I would, there are, of course, to each his own, but I won't enroll myself in 100 classes just to learn, but I like to learn through the process of everyday life. This attitude keeps me humble. It keeps me in touch with people. Everyone has passions and interests, and they love talking about it. I mean, I know I love talking about it. The problem is that no one is listening. So there's all this knowledge in the world that people can give you, but no one is listening, right? So listening into people itself, just, shutting my mouth and listening to people has taught me so many things. it also, keeps me flexible. The best learning happens with an open mind without any preconceptions so that you can get the best out of that moment. So in return, my horizons have gotten broadened. My ego about my achievements, has been kept in check. I'm humble, and I'm also able to connect with people on a level that I feel that brings deeper relationships. My second strength that I've cultivated is my self-awareness. I am very aware of my emotions, whether they are good or bad. Now, this is something that, I have worked on. This hasn't come naturally to me. God knows that Adi used to call me a dreamer all through undergrad because my mind was so buried in music and stuff that I had no idea, what was happening around me. So, the best gift that my father ever gave me was he gave me a diary in grade 5. I was age 9 or 10, I remember that. And for some reason, I trusted my parents, and I knew that my diary was safe and nobody was reading it. So I have been journaling since grade 5. And that dialogue with a trusted friend, which happened to be my diary, helped me at a young age, helped me put into words what I was exactly feeling. The diary, I feel like this. Diary, I want this. So it was a safe place. I had no need to eulogize my feelings or needs. I could, talk about my jealousy. I could talk about my negative emotions as well. Over the years, I have consciously and objectively observed myself in various situations. And by being brutally honest with myself, I have cultivated a healthy inner dialogue and a window into my thoughts. So one of the things that I feel that, why it's so important to me and maybe to others as well, is that being aware of your thoughts helps you be more in control of your actions. Having bad thoughts is natural. We are only reacting to the world around us. But, when we process it consciously, then we can make a conscious action instead of lashing out at our friends and family, instead of lashing out at our colleagues and having repercussions and regrets later. So, Aldous Huxley says in Brave New World that if an individual is stable, a society is stable. So if you are able to stabilize your emotions and your understanding of yourself, you are ultimately contributing to your workplace, your home, your business being more stable as well. One of my motivators for doing this, right, was that I understood that I observed that we process the world through a filter of our conditioning, our ideas, and our perceptions. Sometimes that conditioning and ideas is not even our own, right? So being able to tell each of what you are perceiving for what they are and what, how it's being translated into your head, being able to tell fact from what you are understanding, understand what is real and what is perceived. It's very, very important so that you can make an objective decision about it. This also helps me understand why I'm reacting the way I'm reacting. Why am I angry at this moment? Why don't I like this person at this moment? Instead of just saying, I don't like this, it's easier for me to say that I don't like this because this situation or this person makes me feel this way. And this does not agree with this, and this that I believe in. So it makes it that much more objective. I also go one step forward and take responsibility for my actions. Now, this was something that did take a bit of work on my part, because taking responsibility for bad actions is not a great thing, especially because you are typically your strongest critic, right? But this has helped me have a clear conscience. I have a very loud conscience, and one that will not shut up when I wanted to, which I think is a good thing. But without that, I would not be able to sleep at night. And my third biggest strength would be that I have, turned around from being a pessimist to practicing gratitude in every situation. Whenever I feel sad about my glass being half full, I always remind myself that be thankful that you have a glass. So these three things I believe are, my strengths, and they have helped me through many situations in life.
Right. So one of them is learning, self-awareness, and being optimistic or developing gratitude. I want to just dive into a couple of these. So, for example, you said you were blessed with with learning. And one of the things that you said was maybe a way to do that is to have conversations with, go and talk to people at least about something that you like, that interests you, and that's a good way to learn. Likewise, self-awareness. One of the to-do things or can-do things that you said is about writing it down. Your dad gave you this diary, and that helped you develop a sort of healthy inner dialogue later. And thirdly, about gratitude. Do you want to say something about? Just imagine somebody listening to this who's saying, I don't know why I'm like this, but I just don't like learning. I don't know why I'm like this, but I have poor self-awareness, and I want to also start becoming or start practicing gratitude. Do you want to say something about how somebody can do any of these things, develop, an interest or wanting to learn, developing self-awareness and gratitude?
Sure. Everybody has a different technique, but I will tell you what worked for me. I like to learn something every day, no matter how small. Even if it's, it's a long day, I haven't done much, but just, I'll solve a crossword and there's a word that'll turn up and I'll be like, what does that mean? And I'll just Google it, So just a word a day or the capital of a country, something, right? So before I sleep, I always ask myself, what did I learn today? In the course of one day, you'll be surprised how many things that you have heard people say, you've seen people do. You've always learned something, but reflection is a great way to learn, because when you reflect on something that has happened, you actually glean the learnings from it. Right? It could be a revelation about human nature, a work-related knowledge, or a life skill. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you know more today than yesterday. Right? And like I said, once you set an intention, if you set an intention for learning, you will automatically seek it out. Your conversations will turn to learning and creating instead of talking about other people or politics and sports. It's also important not to judge at this time, because you learn more from different people and situations than from your own comfort zone. Your people are talking similar things as you, doing similar things as you. So it opens up your mind, clears your biases when you actually want to learn, because then you're seeking out people with different life and different knowledge. For example, for me, learning different instruments, learning about different animals, you'd be surprised. I was always, I consider myself like expert level with dogs, but when I started working with horses, I had no idea what I was doing. When I started working with rabbits, I had no idea what I was doing. So just, it helps you understand that, wow, there is so much to learn, and then you get down to it. And you are able to, just by learning, listening, and observing, you're able to actually get a lot out of life. Second thing for self-awareness, I would say that what has helped for me is I always check in with myself and I understand what I'm feeling. It is easier for me because, again, like I said, I did develop an inner dialogue as a young person. And I'm also an introvert, so I am my best friend. And I do, my opinion matters, my approval matters to me more than the world's approval. So these are things that I've found that have helped me in my journey in self-awareness. After I understand what I'm feeling, for example, I'm like, oh, I'm feeling a little disturbed about this. I then go deeper and ask, why am I feeling this? I don't judge myself because, like I said, it's okay to feel emotions. They're just reactions to the world. You cannot control them. What you can control is your action that stems out of that, right? So it really helps me to tune into my body. Whenever you're confused about, what you're thinking and what you're feeling, always listen to your body. Your body is physically reacting to something that you're feeling. If you want help, just read a poem. The poets have already done the work for you. The heart will leap with joy. It stops with fears. Your stomach turns with envy. It really does. Your blood boils with anger. Learn how you react. Just observe, don't judge. It's okay to be jealous if your, friends get amazing new heels. It's fine. That's reality. That's who you are, right? Then I start to understand why I feel a particular way. Am I feeling this because I feel that I haven't done enough? Am I feeling this because, this person is, intruding upon my space, you start understanding why you feel a particular way. Then you can see if there's reason to it or not. Then you can find ways to solve for it. What can I do to feel better? Is there something in my control at all? If this person is just being mean to me, my best control would be to remove this person or myself from that situation, right? It's not in my control. What help do I need to feel better, right? So these are questions that I usually ask to decide my next step on. Fine, I've understood what emotions are feeling. I've understood why I'm feeling this. Now, what am I going to do with this information, right? So self-awareness has helped me step outside of my emotions and think from an objective, a balanced point of view. It can save relationships. It can help you be more effective at communication, and it has helped me be kinder to myself and to others, because we are sometimes really bad critics to ourselves and to the ones that we love the most. So when we react with more kindness, it helps you connect to people that you love on a much deeper level. And God knows that we all need more kindness in the world. What is, again, last point is that journaling. I know I spoke a lot about it, but, if you take it a step further with journaling and internal dialogue, it's usually so helpful. We often speak too much to our friends and too little to ourselves. But understanding that you are your best friend and your biggest strength is the best revelation ever.
Wow, Chet, that response was really loaded. So I'm going to just to pick out some of these things. So firstly, learn something small every single day. I also like the idea of reflecting on what you learned, because when you reflect, it sort of solidifies, crystallizes what went in. The second thing is about self-awareness. I really love this idea. And by the way, for those of you watching, listening to this, you keep hearing the name Adi. Adi is Chaitanya's husband, and he was interviewed, in one of the earlier podcasts. You can go and look for it. It's called The Life Lessons from the Most Understated Intellectual I Know. Okay, that's the name of the podcast. You can look it up. So coming back to what Chaitanya said. So the second thing about self-awareness is to talk to yourself, and sometimes your body is feeling certain things. Respect that, but also ask yourself if you have your own approval. I love that idea of doing that. And to build more gratitude, journal, write, and have that dialogue with yourself through writing. Great. So thanks for that, Chet. So I want to just move on to the next thing. So a lot of people are seeking solutions, mostly, when things are not going their way. And, we've known each other long enough for us to know that, we've had our own tough times in our respective lives. So do you want to say something about, or can you talk about what has helped you get through some of the toughest times in your own life?
Sure. So let me start this response with a story. So at the farm where I volunteer, Sammamish Animal Sanctuary, there was a little calf called Toby and a big bull called Cowboy, right? So both of them are males. Usually dairy farms have no use for males, so they abandon them and, we rescue them. So Toby came in as a really young calf, just a few days old, and Cowboy, who was huge, he was probably like 4,000 pounds, and I'm not exaggerating, he was probably like 9 or 10 feet tall. He adopted him as his own baby, and at any point of time, you would see Cowboy, licking Toby, taking care of him, very protective of him. It so happened that within a few months of me joining the farm, Cowboy passed away out of old age. Toby had known no other family since him. So Toby went wild, right? I mean, we were worried for him. The day that we took away Cowboy, he went wild. He was uncontrollable. He was howling. He was crying. He stopped eating and, he stopped drinking. We didn't know if he was going to make it. We did everything we could, but, it took him almost 2 weeks or more. But ultimately, he came around. We got him a friend also around the same time. Ultimately, he came around, started eating, became very good friends with this another calf called Texas. And now they are the riot of the farm, literally, they run so much that we we don't let guests go there. So, the lesson that I learned from that was that everything takes time. The only way out of any emotion is through it. I always tell myself whenever I'm feeling any difficult emotion or any difficult situation that time literally does heal everything, but it takes that time. So I allow myself to freak out. It's okay. I tell myself that it's okay. Things are happening. There's a lot of things on the line. Sometimes, your mortgage is on the line. Sometimes your relationship is on the line. Sometimes it's about your kids. So it's okay to freak out. In fact, when you freak out and let all those disturbed emotions through, clarity comes and that moment of peace comes where you're able to work something out of it. Right. So in those times, I just listen to music, whatever music, appeals to me at that time. I journal, go back to my internal dialogue, just, shut the door and cry it out, whatever it is. But I allow myself to freak out. Um, Another thing that really helps me is, like I was saying, I understand now that when a bone breaks, it needs time to heal. So when a heart breaks, when a life situation breaks, it needs time to heal. Sometimes it takes a few weeks, sometimes a few months, sometimes a few years, right? Right? So I understand my emotions, what part of me is hurting and what do I want. Just by being patient with myself and with those around me, and by trusting that everything will work out in the end, I'm able to get through that situation. In my 20s, I used to get very freaked out about stuff. I would not see the end of the tunnel. But now I understand that everything that happens actually makes you who you are today, right? So ultimately, it's a good thing. So I now have that firm faith in the universe that everything is happening. Once I'm out on the other side, I will be able to see why it happened to me and what it gave me. And that brings me to, back to the point of gratitude. So when I am going through the toughest times in life, I count my blessings twice because I just want to make sure I have all of them, right? What do I have? And I have faith, that when the smoke clears, one day I will see how the tough times have made me better in some way. So oftentimes I've felt that tough times have peeled away all the unimportant parts of my life. My social. I mean, just look at COVID, right? We stopped hanging out with all the random acquaintances and started enjoying company of, first of all, just being with myself and just being together as a family, right? And spent more time with our family and our closest friends, and we got closer to them. So you drop old habits, you drastically change your health, your lifestyle, your attitude. So you don't realize this when tough times are happening, but when you look back, there's always something good that came out of it, right? A lot of times when the old and dusty moves out of your life, it makes space for the new and shiny. The struggle is that it takes us a while to realize what we wanted and what we had to let go of. So, just being patient with yourself and trusting that good things will happen to you helps you recognize and torture yourself a little less.
I really like this idea that, when you're going through tough times, don't lose your grip on the things that you like to do. Like you said, listen to music, do something that you love to do. The story of, the calf, and that reminded me of Franz Kafka and the doll. That story where, the pervasiveness of loss, where sometimes love is just taken away from you, but it always comes back in another form. And I like what you said about the way through tough times is through them. There's something else this whole idea of not free, of it's okay to freak out. I think that's a brilliant thing because a lot of people are going through the stresses and difficulties, but there's also this whole pressure of not having to show it out, and you have to sort of keep it within yourself. You have to look composed and so on. And I think it's great to know that it's okay to freak out, because that idea takes a huge load off people's chest, and they can just begin to relax knowing that. So a lot of times when people are looking for answers, or when people are going through tough times, here's what they do. They either talk to people, or nowadays, a go-to place is the internet. And if you do that, you're going to either reach a website or an article or something on, say, one of the popular psychology websites which you should read, or you could read, or you'll reach a website where you can watch a video or a YouTube video or a TED video or something like that. So watching and reading seem to be two popular streams of people getting answers to what they're going through in life. So do you have any recommendations in terms of books? things that people can read, or movies, things that people can watch, which you recommend. So are there movies or books that you recommend? And if you want, you can also say something about what these books or movies did for you, so that when people are seeking them out, they know what to expect.
Yeah, so I know that, all of us have connected through books and movies and what we learned from them. These used to be our conversations when we were teenagers, and it continues to be so even today. So this is a topic I love to talk about. I'm a huge sci-fi fan. So I some of the things that I really enjoyed was, I know that Dune is a big deal now, but 20 years ago when I first read Dune, I was struck by the Bene Gesserits, right? They had the self-awareness, they knew what was happening with every muscle in their body. So I think that, looking back, it kind of helped me become more curious about my own, self-awareness, and it may have even like triggered the journey, right? So with Dune and the some of the things that they say, the litany of fear is famous. You can use it for any emotion. Dune is such a complex book that combines science fiction, that combines religion, that combines politics, that you learn a lot about human nature and about observing others and observing, multiple motives within a single conversation. Everybody you approach has a motive, whether it is good or bad, or self-serving or serving you. So being aware, trying to be a Bene Gesserit myself has actually helped me observe myself and others a lot better. So definitely, recommend reading that book. Another series that I really enjoyed was Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. One particular thing, right? I mean, it's mostly a comedy. It's brilliant. But what I loved about that was there's a concept called total perspective vortex that one of the characters goes into. So that total perspective vortex, when you go into that machine, it shows you the entire giant universe, and then it puts a pinprick on it, another pinprick on it, and then another pinprick on it, and then it tells you this is you with relation to the universe, right? So it's a big ego killer, but reading that also, put my own perspectives in place, especially between our 20s and 50s, life is going so well, our children are doing well, our jobs are going well. We start feeling that we're the center of the universe, and we start taking ourselves a little too seriously. So just remembering our place in the universe helps us take ourselves a little less seriously and maybe even laugh at ourselves once in a while. So that was definitely good. Another book that helped me a lot is The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. This book talks a lot about being in the moment and mindfulness. As an overthinker, I am always in the future or worrying about the past. So this helped me actually appreciate what's happening, the blessings of this current moment, right? And also gives you exercises about how you can be more mindful and how you can be in the moment more fully, because this is the moment that you truly have control over. So especially, it's a small book, and especially in this busy world, I feel that was a book that quickly told me what I needed to do and quickly told me, a lot of great directives on how to achieve more happiness in my daily life. Lastly, it's funny because I never finished this book, but it was very interesting. My Experiments with Truth by Gandhiji. So one thing that I loved about it, right, in the beginning itself, was how he was brutally honest with himself. He was, even when he talks about his shortcomings, he's brutally honest. So that taught me to be brutally honest with myself, because, I found out that being at peace with myself is the only way to find and keep joy. And I can only do that with a clear conscience and being completely honest and at one with myself.
Sure. So these are what's the name of the Gandhiji book again?
My Experiments with Truth.
So Power of Now, My Experiments with Truth, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and Dune. You want to say something about the movies? Are there movies that you would recommend to people who are listening to this or watching this?
I'm more of a book person, and I cannot watch anything more than 20 to 30 minutes long. That's how I'm made. So I watch a movie in 3 parts usually. So, what I've really learned from are books.
Okay. So there's no movie that you recommend.
Yeah, I mean, not in terms of learning. There are movies I love, but yeah.
All right, folks. So here's Chaitanya's recommendation. You can watch movies in one shot, but you can also watch it in 2 or 3 parts. So that's an idea right there. So I'm just down to the last 1 or 2 questions. Uh, everybody who I've worked with or coached or mentored, without exception, whether they wanted to grow in their careers, whether they wanted to become better managers, whether they wanted to make more money, whether they wanted to get fit, whatever it is, in the end, everybody is just trying to feel good. So feeling good seems to be like this great denominator. You can reduce everything to one thing, and that thing could be feeling good. So what's your idea of feeling good? When you're feeling good, what is it that you're feeling? And if you want, you could also share how somebody else listening to this or watching this could feel the same.
Yeah, so when I receive a good news or I have something happy happen in my life, my first reaction is always gratitude. That thank you, thank you that this is happening to me. So definitely, I spend some time, thanking my lucky stars, the universe, for the good things that are happening. Second is a sense of fulfillment or achievement. I thrive in that. It's just feeling that I've done well. Um, I deserve this happiness that is happening to me. Gives me a great sense of achievement. And third, I love to share it with my friends. I have a small circle of friends who really understand me and who are rooting for me. So I know that when I share my happy news with them, they are genuinely happy, and vice versa. I am super happy when they're happy and successful and when they share the good news with me. So I feel that having, that strong, my peeps are everything to me.
Okay, so Chets, I've come to the end of this interview. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with the people who are listening or watching this? The typical listener or viewer of this podcast is someone who wants to get better at something, someone who likes to learn something new, someone who wants to sort of explore dimensions of positive psychology. Is there anything else that you want to share?
Yeah, so when I was thinking about, when I was preparing for all the stuff that you had asked me, a little story came into my mind. It was told at school by my principal. At the time, I didn't understand it, but for some reason, I remembered it. It went like there's a wheel, right? This wheel is traveling on this road, and this wheel is the strongest and the fastest wheel. He's going zoom, zoom, zoom. He is traversing the whole world. He's like, I'm the fastest wheel in the world, right? So he is like achieving everything. One day, something happens and the axle breaks. And he's forced, until he finds the next person who can fix it, he's forced to hobble down the path. And then the wheel sees that, oh my goodness, were there so many flowers in the fields? Oh my goodness, what is that beautiful sunset? And he goes on like that. And then he's like, wait, I've been on this road so many times and I never noticed these flowers. So, over life, this story keeps coming back in parts and parts. And, this completely came back to me when I was thinking of all these things, that sometimes just slowing down and taking a breath helps with all the stuff that you talk about for positive psychology, right? It helps you gain insights. It helps you stop and reflect about what you're doing, what you want to do. So just the simple act of taking a breath when you're in a busy day really helps you slow down and absorb more life in.
Wow. So folks, if you're watching this, Chaitanya's final advice is to slow down, stop and smell the roses, see the sunrise, do whatever. Don't keep going like that reckless wheel, trying to repair the engine while you're going at full throttle. So, Chess, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for being here. Those of you who are watching, if you like what you saw, if what Chaitanya said resonated with you, if you used something that she shared, and if it worked for you, didn't work for you, we'll be really glad to hear from you. If you're watching this on YouTube, put your thoughts in the comments below. If you're listening to this on a podcast platform, you can go to my website, vineshsukumaran.com. You'll find my coordinates there. You can write to me, email me, message me. We'll be glad to hear from you. Chaitanya, thanks a lot. Thanks for your time. It was great listening to you. And I'm really fascinated because every time I interview people who I've known for years, and I still hear new things from them. I still find out something amazing and hear something which I've never heard before. And I think that's really wonderful.
It was a great journey, in fact, going back into my life and just to answer all the questions that I thought that you would be asking. So thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Oh, yes, it's a great pleasure. Thanks for your time. And thank you, everyone, for listening to this, for watching this. I will see you soon. Thank you.